Well, let's get more on the row between Egypt and Qatar. To talk on that is a senior lecturer of history and international relations at the University of Lagos, Dr. Dapo Thomas. You're welcome to the program.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. What do you make of Egypt, Libya, and those other countries' decision to cut diplomatic ties with Qatar?
Well, I think it has become necessary for the Gulf states to come together collectively against Qatar. If there is strong evidence, and which I think is true, that they are providing some kind of assistance in terms of military supplies, in terms of moral support to the terrorist organizations, particularly ISIS, and they are working in, there is a conspiracy theory, or there is a kind of cooperation between them and Iran. So if this evidence is so substantial, so powerful, I believe that the action they have taken so far in terms of isolating Qatar is right step in the right direction, because if a particular state within the Gulf states is creating problem for the others, the best thing to do is to isolate that country and ensure that at least the sources or the channels of military supply to ISIS are cut off. And I think that is what they actually want to achieve. That's the objective of the gang up against Qatar.
There are speculations that the U.S. President Donald Trump's recent visit to the Middle East could have motivated this decision by Egypt and others against Qatar. Do you agree with this?
The what? The U.S. President did what?
Yeah, the President Trump's recent visit to the Middle East could have motivated, the decision.
Obviously, I quite agree with that position, because coming maybe 2 weeks after Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia, and then, obviously they will have discussed, because the U.S. has a military base, a Air Force base in Doha, and as such, you cannot just cut off my ally, land here, sea, and then you cut it off, and then how do you expect me to get to my base? So I'm so sure they have discussed it, and then maybe some other options have been provided, all in a bid to bring Qatar to submission. I believe that very soon Qatar will have no other option than to cooperate, because it's a no-win situation for Qatar. So it's a strategy which the U.S., I'm so sure, was aware of.
What effect is this decision likely to have on the fight against global terrorism?
On the fight against terrorism?
Yes.
Obviously, it's going to have a positive impact. For as long as the major supplier, or even if it is not the major supplier, if Doha is not the major outlet for arms supplies to ISIS, at least it's going to be a kind of substantial source of military supply or munition supply to ISIS. So if that is cut off, at least if you cut off maybe 30% to 50% of the sources of military supplies, then it's going to have considerable impact, positive impact on the war against terror.
Right. Thank you for your thoughts on those issues, Dr.
You're welcome.
Dapo Thomas speaking to us there. Let's move on to Kenya now, where health services across the country have been disrupted after nurses in the country downed their tools, demanding more pay and better working conditions. Yesterday, over 45,000 nurses under the largest union, the Kenya National Union of Nurses, boycotted their work and took to the streets, forcing some public hospitals to refer patients to private ones. The nurses are protesting against what they call a violation of an agreement by the Kenyan government, which was to be signed in December last year. But the government says it can only afford $20 million to pay the nurses compared to the $400 million they're demanding. Well, there's more to know about this situation, and joining us is a Kenyan journalist, Teddy Otieno, who joins us live from Nairobi. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good evening to you.
Good evening to you. We understand the nurses' strike has claimed at least one life in the country. What more can you tell us?
Actually, the death toll has risen as we're speaking right now, and because 6 people have died in the general hospital, that is in the coastal part of the country. Initially, there was one person who was killed, who actually succumbed to death yesterday at around 12 p.m., that is around midday. But then what happened today is that 6 patients actually died. That is between Monday afternoon and Tuesday morning. And this was actually confirmed by the health chief officer from Mombasa, which is a coastal town.
45,000 people, what effect is this having on the nation's health sector, and how are the doctors coping?
Well, it is quite a sad state of affairs as we're speaking, because the strike has had some sort of very, very widespread effect when it comes to how operations in the hospitals are going at the moment. The stalled services when it comes to the counties, the stalled services when it comes to the major cities, major towns. And doctors, remember, early last month, actually threatened to go on strike as well. So right now, it is actually a difficult situation because patients are actually being sent home. We had a situation this morning where mothers in a particular country had to actually pick their babies from the incubators, and they went home with the babies who were actually still premature. So it is a state of affairs, and just like you mentioned earlier, the nurses not being at the hospitals creates a very, very wide vacuum in the hospitals.
Right, $20 million is what the government says it has. It's a far cry, to the $400 million that the nurses are demanding. So what's the government doing to resolve this matter? Is it, is it going to come up with some extra funds to augment what it already has?
Okay, what happened is that yesterday there was a meeting between governors, that is the Council of Governors. Of course, the governors were incorporated because health as a unit has been devolved in the country. Besides that, there is the fact that the Salaries and Remuneration Commission was actually incorporated in it as well. And then, of course, we had the Ministry of Health officials, that is including the minister himself. But then again, after the talks, Salaries and Remuneration Commission was not able to actually agree to that particular amount. So they're saying the stocks are stalled at the moment, and what is going on is that the nurses have just maintained a hardline stance. They're saying nothing is going to happen if you're not going to give us the right amount that we've asked for. Over to you.
The strike comes just 2 months, before the country's presidential election. Do you think it may have some kind of effect on President Kenyatta's re-election bid?
Well, just like we spoke about 6 or 7 days ago, I actually mentioned the point where we're getting opinion polls, and the numbers, as they say, do not lie at some point, because we're looking at a 5-gap lead. That is the president having a 47% of the total votes right now. That is according to the polls, and of course the opposition leader getting a 42%. That's a 5% gap. But then we've had cases whereby the opposition is also making inroads in the counties, or rather in the regions that were popular by that is actually, they were actually looking on the government. They were actually biased towards the government side. So at the moment, when these things happen, it creates a ripple effect to all the counties. It creates a ripple effect to even the supporters of the president himself, because they are looking at it as, as a case scenario where the government is deserting them, yet at the same time they're still coming back to ask them for their votes. So it is likely to affect, President Uhuru Kenyatta's re-election bid. It will be a hard time for him. It will actually be a challenge for him to actually convince people that you can actually get to re-elect us on the basis that we've provided healthcare services, we've provided education, we've provided the basic needs for the basic Kenyan, or for the local Kenyan, if I can say that. But then ideally, it will actually have a ripple effect. And I can tell you for sure it's going to be a battle, a neck-to-neck battle between the president and the opposition leader come August 8th.
Thank you so much for your thoughts on that, Teddy Otieno, speaking to us from Kenya. Well, still to come on Network Africa. Libya deports 26 illegal Nigerian migrants from Misrata. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.